Hey, welcome to our archive edition of Chad's Beer Podcast with me, Chad, of Chad's Beer. Got the old school shirt. I think the shirt is from like 2010 or something. I don't know. Maybe it'd be older than that. Anyway, so in this archive episode, I'm talking to Madison Smith, aka winobeerofoodo. Her channel is still there, but she hasn't posted anything to it in a long time. It says 6 years. Seems like it's been more than that. She was one of the first beer tubers. And I think she was like the first lady BeerTuber. I remember she was certified. I think she's certified Cicerone, like a wine sommelier. We actually talk about that in the podcast. And so she started this channel because she was going to do like wine, beer, and food. And she mostly just ended up doing beer. And her and I did a review of Ovila Double by Sierra Nevada, which I remember being like only okay. Sierra Nevada doesn't make very good Belgian beers, at least not that one. Her website is still there, but she hasn't posted it to a long time. And she got out of the hospitality industry. Now she has like her own ear, like hearing aid or like ear doctor company or something like that. So very very strange change of business, but I used to work in IT and like now I'm an Uber driver, so who knows. Yeah, so you can check out these old episodes, and there's actually two podcasts, I guess you could call them interviews, that I did with her. One in 2011 after we did that Sierra Nevada one, and then we did one again about a year and a half later, late 2012, but I could have swore we did another beer review together, and I just spent the last half hour searching all my, 1,700 episodes trying to find which one it was, and I can't find it. I think we just did that once here in Nevada. So, anyway, I'm rambling, so please enjoy these, not one, but two old school, old-timey interviews with Madison Smith, and give her a follow if you want. All right, I'll see you later. Bye. Hey, welcome to our episode of Interview with a Craft Beer Enthusiast. My first ever Skype review with a girl.
Oh my god.
This is
Seriously?
Madison Smith
Seriously?
of winobeerofoodo.com. How you
Hello.
doing?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Chad.
Like there was a blog you wrote about, I can't believe people can't believe that I like beer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a blessing and a curse. I mean, in some ways, I think it helps me get my foot in the door a little bit because I stand out a little bit
Right?
because there aren't very many women who are involved. There are some, but
Right.
um, not that many. But then at the same time, I definitely get dismissed a lot by people who just assume that I won't know anything, and I'm learning just like everybody else. But I mean, I can be interested in beer. I'm interested in wine and food. Why would I not want to learn more about just another fermented beverage? So,
Right. Because of your screen name, that you are interested in wine and food too. And having read your bio, you have to bring my viewers up to speed, I guess. Is that you went to college for food what?
science,
Food
food science,
science. And
right?
can you give us the genesis of how you got? Because first you became really interested in wine, and then you became interested in beer, and because you went to school for food science, food was in there too. So was
Right.
it culinary arts, like were you learning how to be a cook, or was it more like the
No,
nutritional side of food or things?
actually, neither. And those are the two things that everyone asks is one, can I cook really well? And two, can I be their dietitian? And I mean, I like to cook, so that's just a personal thing. And I know a decent amount about nutrition, and it's mainly just because of personally educating myself. But my actual degree was so food science is much more in a lab, taking the different chemical components in foods and trying to make them last longer, taste better, look prettier. So you're in a white coat and you're taking samples of this into that, and you're spreading
Right.
and growing E. coli and things like that.
So you were learning like how to go work for like Monsanto or something like that.
Exactly. I mean, just like that. And being from Georgia, Coca Cola in Atlanta was the epic job that
Right.
was like the holy grail of food science.
So, can you
So
give us the origin of how you got into became so enthusiastic about wine and craft beer? Because wine came first, right?
it did. So in college, I drank Arbor Mist and Miller Lite, and mainly Diet Coke and Jack Daniels. So it wasn't until I took a study abroad to Italy last year, 2010, for a month to study viticulture and enology, which is growing grapes and making wine.
Right.
And I did it because it's like, who doesn't want to go to Italy and drink for a month and get class credit? That sounds like fun, right? And it wasn't until the end that I went, wow, I love this. It fits with food science. Why don't I run with it? So I got a job at a winery in Georgia. Yes, there are wineries in Georgia when I got home and loved it.
What year
And
was
then
this?
this was last year.
Oh, okay.
May was in Italy. June, I got the job at the winery. In December, on December 31st, I jumped in the car with a friend and took a road trip out to California just for a week for fun. We stopped at 15 microbreweries,
Uh huh.
tried 150 beers.
Wow.
And I mean, that was my birth of craft beer love. I didn't know a thing about it until that trip, and it was sort of a crash course.
Right. Before we get back to the beer, I just wanted to ask, or one more question is: so when you moved to California, California, you got a job at a winery there too, and like, how did that happen? Was that pure luck or skill?
Both, for sure. Um, I had thrown out some random applications into the internet abyss of Napa and either didn't hear anything back or sort of heard no. And I was applying for jobs I wasn't qualified for, and I was living in Georgia. So
Right.
they there's no reason that they should have even hired me. But when I got to Davis, where my friend was doing a master brewers program,
Right.
I saw there was one winery with a tasting room. So one afternoon on my way to Target, I stopped by with a resume and walked in and went, "Where's the winemaker?" Went straight up to him, introduced myself, said hello, um, gave him my resume. The next day he interviewed me. 2 days later, I was sitting at a desk mulling over marketing strategies
Wow.
as the sales and marketing coordinator.
Do you have experience in marketing and sales, or?
Naturally, yes. Um, I mean, both my parents own their own businesses.
Spokesmodel.
Yes, exactly. A little Vanna White action going on. You know, I renovated a couple houses right after I graduated from high school. I bought my first house,
Right.
renovated it, flipped it for a profit, did two
Nice.
more the next summer. The summer after that, I got an internship with Northwestern Mutual and sold insurance for a year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I messed around with some different business ventures and done sales. So it came naturally. It's what I want to be doing is some type of sales in life.
Cool.
Yeah.
So now you're working at the winery in California. You've moved there. Your day job is what exactly?
So sales and marketing means I'm visiting all the grocery stores and restaurants in the area, pouring them wine and convincing them to carry our wines on their lists. And then as far as marketing goes, I'm managing all of our social media with Twitter, Facebook, blog, website.
Cool.
So,
Now
yeah.
have well, maybe because you're still new, but are you kind of elbowing them like, hey, let me in the grape. I don't know anything about wine, so I don't know what's the, like, in beer it's the brewery. Like, what's the, are
Yeah.
you telling them, hey, let me get in there and start do they literally crush grapes with the feet?
No, with the feet, no, no. But like today, I spent 2 hours hand labeling wine bottles.
Nice.
Tomorrow morning, I'm going to spend probably 3 or 4 hours bottling our latest vintage of Chardonnay. And it's because, yeah, I'm sales and marketing, and some of my time's in the office and some's on the road, but it's a very tiny winery. So I can participate in absolutely every aspect if I want to. Fermentation, second fermentation, anything.
Nice.
So,
You started your website, I think, like in January or something.
mhm.
You've done, a half dozen YouTube reviews. You've done some text reviews. Um, when you went to do your website, what made you want to do it winobeerofoodo instead of just wine or just food or just beer?
You know, I think this whole journey that I've taken over the last 6 months to a year has made me realize that um, people are picking one or the other. And I just had this moment of epiphany that it all goes together. And I might want to have wine one night, beer another night, wine with one course, beer with the next course. I read He Said Beer, She Said Wine
Oh, I have
by
that book.
Sam Calagione
Yeah,
and Marnie Old.
yeah,
And that book, it was funny because they were pitted against each other as if one was better than the other. But
yeah.
really, the whole outcome was look how cool it is. These are both fantastic fermented alcoholic beverages that can complement your meal, and the meal complements them back. And it's just like taste-gasmic, right? So
Right.
that's, yeah.
So, like, in other words, like, what's your rationale? What's your criteria for what makes good beer good?
It's so different for every beer and for every person. I obviously am a craft beer enthusiast at this point. I would love to get some formal education. I've looked into the Cicerone, into the, what are the
BJCP?
initials for? Yes, thank you. Um, and I've thought seriously about doing something like that because here you've done a ton of reviews. So you at least have your standard, right?
Right.
I am very new, especially at the beer reviewing. I've done much more wine tasting. So my perspective on this is what I'm looking for might not be standard for what I should be looking for in a Trappist double.
Right.
Um, so that's why you sort of have to take it with a grain of salt, is that, we don't have a standard that we're really going by.
Right.
And I think that makes it hard. It makes me really want to get more education so that people can take that standard and make their own comparison to it.
Mm-hmm. Kind of
So.
along those lines, like, what are your personal tastes? Are you like hoppy beers, stouts, chocolate, bitter? Um, what's what's your preferences?
I like bold. So double IPAs, the more bitter, the better, the more floral, the better, dry hopped, anything I love. Um, and then, if you're going to have like a stout or a porter, something that is big and dark and either really chocolatey or really coffee and then sour beers, I'm getting really into sour beers. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to just hint at it. I want it to be deathly warhead sour. And yeah, that's what I like.
Wow. Seems like we're kind of on the same page there. What don't you like? What's your turnoffs? You know.
Definitely the mediocre, quaffable, light lagers in general. I'm not a huge fan of most lagers.
Right.
Um, a lot of pilsners I don't really care much for. If I'm going to be drinking something that's craft beer that you're generally paying a little more money for, you expect them to have really put in some special effort, then I want to be trying something genuinely interesting. If it's
Mm-hmm.
just going to be quaffable, whatever, then I'll just buy the cheap stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds bad, but yeah.
Can you
Hmm.
contrast the and having visited Italy too? Can you contrast those kind of two or maybe three different cultures as opposed to how they view and approach beer, wine, and food?
Hmm. Well, in Georgia, it's hard to say because I wasn't as interested at that moment in my life. So they may have had many opportunities I wasn't taking advantage of.
Right.
But we can assume there are 10 wineries in Georgia and a handful of breweries too. So, that alone says there's so few, it's going to be very different than California. Where I am now, every day, every weekend, there's a beer festival, a wine festival, some type of tasting, a winemaker dinner. I mean, if I had unlimited funding and no job, I could just be drinking and eating all day long every day. And in Italy, it really felt the same. I attended a lot of really high-end, nice winemaker dinners that from the beginning, I knew I'm going to put the money aside. I'm going to go to this 60 euro dinner with the winemaker because when else in my life am I going to get to do this?
Right.
And it was epic.
Alrighty, well, I guess that about wraps it up with the interview with Madison Smith of winobeerofoodo.com. Check her out on winobeerofoodo.com and on Twitter. And what's some of the other sites that you're on?
YouTube, Foursquare, Untapped, Beer Bloggers Unite, 20-something bloggers, lots of stuff.
Cool. Alright, well, hopefully I'll send some people your way here on YouTube. And I hope we can definitely have to do another Skype real soon. So
absolutely. Thank you, Chad. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for doing the interview. And cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, welcome to another interview with not just a craft beer enthusiast, but a craft beer professional. Remember Madison Smith, better known as Wino Beero Foodo on YouTube and Twitter and your website. How you doing?
Excellent. How are you?
Good. It's been a long time since our last interview, probably like a year and a half or something.
Yeah.
And last time we talked, you were living in California, working for a winery. And now you're on the East Coast in North Carolina working for a brewery.
Right.
So it's like you grew up in Georgia and then got the job in California, and now you're in North Carolina.
Just all over the place, yeah.
Yeah. Last time we talked, you told the story of how you got the job in California. So how did you get the job in North Carolina?
So actually, a friend of mine, okay, I lie, a guy I was dating was in the Master Brewers program at UC Davis.
Right.
And so he knew all about probrewer.com, and he saw a sales position on there and suggested that I apply for it. These guys had the position up there for maybe 5 months and weren't even watching their emails to see the resumes coming in. And they literally opened it, and mine was the first one that popped up that day. And I had links to my YouTube channel and all that, and they went and watched my YouTube reviews and asked me to fly out the next weekend and stay the whole weekend and interview. So it was directly because of my YouTube and my blog that I got that job.
Wow.
Yeah. I think they felt like they'd already met me before they saw them. So, before they met me. Yeah. So, yeah, I moved back 3,000 miles back across the country. And they put me in Charlotte, where I was doing sales for all of Western North Carolina.
Right.
So door-to-door, inside and outside sales.
Right. So you were like a rep.
Yeah, exactly. So it was cool. I got to meet tons of industry people. I spent a lot of time in Asheville, which has a booming craft beer market.
Yeah.
But about 6 months ago, I was doing PR. And so for the last 6 months, I've been doing all of their brand management, social media, press releases, website, newsletter, blog, that kind of thing.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So it's like now you're getting paid to tweet and Facebook and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, basically. It's kind of
like a social media strategist.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Or is there a catch-22 now where it's like you're on the internet all day and you're like, this used to be fun, now it's work?
Yeah, honestly, have you noticed that I've disappeared a little bit the last 9 months? Doing it for somebody makes it so much harder to do your own because it feels selfish. It feels like I'm doing the work I'm supposed to be doing. So if I have the time, then I should be doing everything I can do to grow their brand.
Right.
That's what happens. And then you just want to shut your computer at night and turn it off.
Yeah, the brewery's Natty Greens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, how many states are they in? Or are they just a...
Only North Carolina.
Okay. How many barrels do they do a year?
We're at about 11,000 this year.
Uh-huh.
And they're the second largest in the state, and they will be the first largest in the state by next summer.
Now, do they have a brew pub, like with a full restaurant and everything, or is it just a brewery?
They do. The two brew pubs, one in Greensboro, one in Raleigh.
Uh-huh.
Each of those have their own pub brewer, so they'll create crazy off-the-wall. They'll have a pumpkin beer, imperial stout, a triple IPA. They'll have the really crazy cool stuff, and then we have a production facility in Greensboro that makes enough for the state because we're in all the grocery stores, 700 taps across the country.
Now,
The state.
since you're an employee of the brewery and like you're a craft beer enthusiast, now have you actually gone and brewed with them, like actually mashed in and all that stuff?
I have.
You have your own beer?
The first 2 weeks that I worked for them, I was only in the brewery.
Right.
And the guys loved it because they actually did not work. They were like, hook that hose over there. They were loving it, and it was some of the hardest manual labor I've ever done. I loved it, learning all about it, but I've never ached so much from head to toe. Everything's so heavy.
Right.
And I'm not that strong.
Yeah, the bags of grain are what, like 50, 100 pounds each?
Yeah, they're huge. I got some help with that stuff, but it was intense. But it was great because that was their training for me to go do sales. And that's invaluable for your salespeople to have hands-on experience.
Right. So you could do what it's like to actually, but you're a home brewer though. How long have you been home brewing for?
I can't say that I'm a home brewer. That sounds really...
A budding home brewer?
One home brew.
Okay.
So, I have one in my closet that I really need to bottle right now.
Okay. What kind of beer is it?
It is a copy of A Bell's Two Hearted.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But I made a lot of mistakes along the way. For instance, there were maybe 2 gallons of material that I brewed.
Right.
And it goes into the fermenter. And I needed 2 gallons of water.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do that. So it was just 2 gallons. And I asked on Twitter for help from people, and we basically all decided that I would just let it go all the way through fermentation with only 2 gallons and with 3 gallons of headspace. And see what happened. It was delicious.
And you can top it off.
So then we talked about me topping it off, and there was this huge debate. And I think most of them decided I should top it off, and I decided not to.
Well, then, did you take a gravity? Is your ABV going to be really high?
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping so.
Gonna be like 8 or 9% instead of 5 or 6.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see how it turned out, if it's drinkable or not.
You're certified level 1 wine sommelier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many different levels are there?
There are 4.
Okay.
And level 1, all you can do is call yourself a level 1. Level 2, you are a sommelier.
Right.
And I just took the Cicerone Certified Beer Server
Right.
about a month ago. And so I'm planning on taking the second one to be a Cicerone.
Right.
Probably December 1st. I've been studying pretty hard for that. It's kind of why I homebrewed, is to help me get ready for the test.
Yeah, have you ever thought about doing BJCP?
I have. I've thought a lot about it. I think I liked getting into the Cicerone by doing the first level.
Right.
And then I felt like I should push myself to go through the second. But I would love to do the BJCP also. A lot of it was on the Cicerone. They go by their beer styles.
Right.
By their style guide. So, and I've been thinking about doing a beer series that has to do with BJCP as I study for the next Cicerone. I think that would be fun. But Yeah, I'm just trying to push ahead and get as many certifications as I can. Like you said, for my resume, even though it's expensive,
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, saying I know a lot about beer doesn't mean
Right. Now that you've been, like, you worked in wine and now you're working in beer, like, and actually one was West Coast and one's East Coast.
yeah.
Um, can you compare and contrast the two? Is it night and day, or are they similar?
I found a lot of differences. The clientele is very different. The type of people you work with, what's expected of you. In the wine world, expected to be dressed very professionally, to be well spoken.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beer industry, I showed up for my first day of work dressed up in, a suit skirt and a blouse and heels, and they looked at me like I was a crazy person. And after about a month, I was still trying to dress down a little bit. My bosses approached me and asked me if I would please wear jeans and like get more low key. And that was hard for me because I kind of enjoy the dressing up and feeling professional.
Right. And probably boots too.
Yeah, yeah. So that was very different, what's expected of you. And then just the general environment. Beer is not nearly as stuffy as wine is. It's very relaxed. You go to a beer festival, you're working it and you're drinking the whole time. And cons to that, it's much less professional,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a lot more fun too.
Yeah, between wine and beer, have you learned like the more scientific side of like how yeast works and like the chemistry and like alpha acids and things like that, like what different hops do and what different malts do and what temperature does? Are you getting like the more scientific education side now?
To some extent, my degree is in food chemistry, so I studied fermentation a little bit. I studied viticulture and enology in Tuscany my senior year. So the wine side, I had a much better picture of the chemistry behind it. And beer, I spent 2 weeks in the brewery, but then I went straight into sales and then into PR.
Right.
And those they're not even the beer field. They are sales and they are PR field. So learning that stuff has been really just on my own. So I think home brewing is going to help me bolster that part of it because I want to know more about the chemistry. And hops. I mean, I want to be able to smell something and identify what hops they used. I think that's just really fun. It's like a puzzle.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of a food geek, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different types of hops and malts. It's, I mean, you really do have to go to school just to like learn them all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can, but you should try like growing your own hops in your backyard.
I know. I saw you were growing some, right?
I was trying to, but then I think a rabbit came and ate them.
I'm sorry.
I was growing pumpkins and they got all diseased. I did successfully grow some tomatoes and jalapeno peppers though.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thinking about doing a homebrew with the jalapenos.
That would be really cool. I've had a few jalapeno beers. Natty Greens has one. It's really good.
Oh, you have to send me like a homebrew recipe or something.
I might can do that.
Yeah, so you've been on and off YouTube for the last year or so. I'd imagine a lot of that was from being busy between moving and work and things like that.
Yeah.
Are you trying to get back on more regularly now, or is it just like you just make videos whenever you get a free chance?
Well, that's how it's been for the last year, really. And I loved it. It was a lot of fun. I like being part of the community. And so I'm looking at a whiteboard that I just wrote with a list of ideas I have for videos.
Uh-huh.
So this week I've been thinking about it and maybe doing a little less of just random beer and wine reviews and having a little more of a purpose. So more like how-tos and that kind of thing.
Right.
So, yes, my plan is to do more.
You must have either got used to or gotten sick of the trolls and cat calls by now.
No, I mean, they're really funny. I read them to my friends, and they're like, really? You let people talk to you that way? And, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
People say what they're going to say when they're, behind their computer screen typing. It's funny more than anything.
So what's like your short-term and long-term plans, like as far as YouTube and like you still have winobeerofoodo.com, right?
I do.
You still posted that?
When I do a video, I post it there. But I haven't been blogging regularly either. But both of those I really want to get back into. I love doing it. I love being active in the community, and being active, you learn more too. Because people they're interacting, they're correcting you, they're encouraging you to learn new things.
Yeah, you're pretty active on Twitter. You have what, like 3,000 followers or something?
It's interesting. I kind of stalled out there. I'm at 3,300 and I've been right there for a while.
Wow.
Which is interesting because I had a lot of growth as I was really engaging people. I was really involved. And then, like the last year, it's been really, really slow growth because I haven't been as active. And then the last 2 months, I don't think I've gained a follower. I've gained and lost, like stayed even.
I wish I had 3,100 followers. I've been on Twitter for like 3 years now. I still haven't broken 1,000.
I'm not sure what people follow for. I mean, I've created a list of rules for myself that
Right.
I followed that was just sort of a gut reaction of how I felt that Twitter worked, and it has worked pretty well for me. Just if someone messages you, you always message them back. If
Right.
someone retweets you, you thank them. Just like common courtesy, like you're having a conversation, because you are. It's just online.
Cool. Yeah, so I guess that about wraps it up with the interview with Madison. You want to shout out all your sites and stuff, Facebook, Twitter, all that, YouTube, all that stuff?
Yeah, so everything is winobeerofoodo, and I'm on YouTube, Pinterest, Google+, Facebook, Untapped, Beer Bloggers Unite, 20-somethings Unite. I don't know, I'm on a bunch of different things. But just look up winobeerofoodo. If you just search it in Google, then you'll find everything.
Yeah, you kind of let the foodo part kind of slip away, because I haven't seen you do like a food blog in a long time.
Not in a while, I know, but food was my first love. That's how I got into wine. Don't worry, it's coming.
Yeah, there's a huge food blog scene. Well, I mean, I guess food blogs all over the country now are pretty popular, but
It is.
like especially local food, like wherever area you're in, is like there's like always a hardcore collection of people on Twitter and with their own websites who just like go to the restaurant down the street and write reviews.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah, it's fun. All right, well, thanks for joining me. And be sure to check. I'll put links to all your stuff in the description box. So thanks, and hopefully we'll do another beer review sometime soon.
Definitely, I would love that. Awesome.
All right, I'll see you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.